Hey, it's Scott Tempesta from Sailing Anarchy. We're back again with another one of our retro videos. I think today falls in the retro category. A boat that was a little ahead of its time. There's only one in San Diego as far as I know, and this is what we're doing today. It's the Laser 28. So the Laser 28 has a pretty interesting story. First of all, you probably all know it's designed by Bruce Farr. If you don't, you do now. The boat's called the Laser 28, and conceptually it was conceived at Laser itself. However, Ian Bruce, who was the president of Laser back then, decided to make this boat its own thing, its own entity. So they started a separate company, and they went out and got about $1 million in funding, which in the very early 80s, that was a fair bit of dough because they wanted to make this boat right. This thing was conceived as a performance cruiser. They did a kind of a very interesting build process. It was called the closed mold process. They essentially used two molds, and they were kind of a form of vacuum bagging, and it was one reason why they were able to make the boat perfectly finished. Everywhere you look, both on deck and down below, every gel coat surface is just perfect. It also assured uniform build and uniform weights. Speaking of which, this boat weighs almost 4,000 pounds, 3,950. It's a little over 9 feet wide, kind of a wide-ish boat. Back then, Bruce Farr drew pretty wide boats with wide sterns, which weren't necessarily in vogue, but designers like Bruce Farr, Laurie Davidson, Paul Whiting, they really did start to introduce the really wide transom boats, mostly in the ton classes, the half-ton, quarter-ton, and the one-tonners. The boat doesn't have a lot of ballast. It's 1,500 pounds of ballast, which is well short of 50%. So the boats are actually a little tippy. It's interesting, they tested both 153 Genoas and like 108% jibs, and they decided that the jib would be the primary sail on this boat, thinking that it would be really good on anything over 5 knots. I bet that's not really true. I'll bet the Genoa is significantly faster, probably all the way up to 10, 12 knots, and then you go to the jib. So it was a very simple sail plan, really basic inventory. Hans Fogh from North Sails was part of it, and they created a one design set of sails for the boat. Oh, while we're here, I might as well do this. Window! Bruce Farr has always done the best windows ever, like ever, and this one is nicely done. Again, I love the dark tint, and it just fits in nicely with the house. It's long for a long house. It takes up some space. It breaks up the visual. I think it really looks great. Let's head to the cockpit. All right, in the cockpit of the Laser 28, it's simple. That follows exactly what the design brief and the production brief said. A very close tolerance, one design boat, not a lot of extras, and not needed on a boat like this. The benches are nice and long. You actually could lay there and get some sun if you wanted to. The first thing I want to bring your attention to, though, is this. Yeah, it has an inboard. Yeah, it's a sail drive. No, you don't really want that in San Diego because that thing will catch kelp or weeds, and it's really hard to get it off. But it was just a way to build a boat that was, keep in mind, a performance cruiser. They really had the idea of this being a family boat. And again, when we go down below, you get a good idea for what that's like. So typically on a boat this size, you would have an outboard, but they did this, and that's kind of what it is. They did a couple nice things on this boat that's really cool. So they did a nice little traveler system here, of course, and then check this out. It's really easy just to crank the backstay down. It's very easy, very simple, and like I said, really lightweight on the boat. I talked about the wide transom. This is a fairly wide transom for a boat of this generation, but it does provide more space back here, and for reaching in any breeze at all and running in breeze, it's nice to have the form stability back here. By the way, these boats are just notorious for being downwind rocket ships in a breeze. I mean, they really get up and surf quite nicely. People don't think they're so great to go upwind with in a breeze, and I can see why. It's a little thing, it's tippy, it's probably not perfect for that, but these things apparently light it up. downwind. And I'll show you a little feature on the foredeck on this boat that this boat has and most don't. So here I am in my familiar helmsman position. Like they'd let me steer this boat. There's no way. But it's really nice. So they built this in. Yes, it's a little coaming. Yes, it keeps water from getting in the cockpit. But when the boat's heeled over at all, this holds you right in place. You don't fall to leeward. You don't need any kind of a footrest. And so it's a good place to be. When the boat's up and down, that is not heeling. You know, it's kind of tough because when you want to get inboard, you know, you have to lift your ass up and sit inside the cockpit. But on a boat with a high cabin house, it's nice to be able to get outboard, improve your visibility, and then you're able to see the headsail quite nicely. And it's a really comfortable place to sit when you're going in any point of sail in any kind of breeze. One of the nice things about a simple boat is you tend to make things simple to get to. And in this boat, they did that quite nicely. So you have the main sheet right here, which is really good. It's double-ended. You have your traveler right here, duh. And then you also have your backstay adjuster right here. And that's really that's all you have on this boat. There's no runners, thank God. With a single spreader, really swept back rig, you don't need runners. But you know, it's pretty nice. And then of course your mainsail trimmer is probably here, and he's probably doing most of these, but you can certainly, you know, if you just feel something, you just reach in and grab it. So it's the way to do it. As we walk forward to show you the rest of the boat, I want you to know just how tippy the thing is. I mean, it is a tippy thing just at the dock. So you know what it's like under sail, especially when you're pressed. This boat had one of the original solid vangs, right? I mean, you probably haven't seen one of these. Maybe some of you have never seen one. You probably just as well, but this was the original type, or one of the original types of solid boom vangs that would hold the boom up. And there it is, and it's still working, and that's just great. This boat is a little different than the stock boats in that they put a little prod on the boat. And, you know, I'm guessing maybe, I don't know, 30 inches, 28 inches, something like that. It's a great way to get your asymmetrical out there. You can build bigger asymmetricals, and this boat has something you probably have never seen. It has a titanium spinnaker pole. Like literally titanium. It couldn't be any lighter. It really could not be. They also made this a penalty length as well, right? So the pole attaches there, and you can see how far out there it sticks. So it's quite a bit. So whether this boat's flying asymmetricals or symmetricals, it has something that every boat in light air areas need. Sail area. These boats are starved for sail area in light air. So San Diego, any place, hell, any place. A bigger spinnaker on a boat like this, you're just gonna go a hell of a lot faster. A little tip of the hat to the cruising aspect of this boat, a legit anchor well, anchor, chain, and rode right there. There you go. I told you it was a cruiser. Now let's go down below and I'll really show you. Hey, before we head down below, just a quick reminder to let you know we have a Patreon account, and it's a way that the community can help us keep producing these videos. It's also a good way to get a little inside information as to kind of what we're doing, some behind the scenes stuff. We'll be sure to throw some of that out to the Patreon members. Literally, you can do it for $3 a month, although you should step up at $10 a month. Come on, for Christ's sake, that's 2 lattes. It's no big deal. To link on that, it's in the description if you care to do that, and it helps pay for these knuckleheads. Anyway, let's go down below and check it out. Down below the Laser 28, what did I tell you about that beam and the height? It just gives you a lot of room. I mean, I can stand up easy down here. I can stand up almost all the way to the forepeak. I'm height challenged to a degree, but nonetheless, for a 28-foot boat, racer cruiser, performance cruiser, however you wish to define it, this boat has the room and the amenities down here. I mean, we'll just start right here with the galley. I mean, you got your stove, sink, ice boxes right there, plenty of storage here. I guess that could be considered a double for people that were really friendly with each other, or tiny kids, but really it's a single off to the port side. Starboard side, enclosed head. Like, what? On a 28-footer? It was designed in the early 80s? Yeah, it's there. And then after there is just storage, or where they would send me on off watch. Like, you don't get a bunk. You just get to sit back there and be quiet. If you just go a little bit further forward, you have a dinette. Like a real legit dinette that could actually seat 4 people. I'm quite certain it folds down. I know that it does, so this could become another double bunk if you wish. All of these canvas bags, that line the entire hull from the front all the way back to here. Those were standard. And a great idea, right? I mean, just as evidenced by what they've done here. You can store stuff. There's no need for cabinetry. It's all very available. I mean, it's kind of a slick thing. Your instrument panel here. Down below, interior lights, it's got a few of them. But like, seriously, it's really good size. And when I take a step forward, I want to show you another feature that you just really wouldn't see on a boat like this. Oh, teak and Hawley sole, right? And I talked a little bit about the fiberglass and the gel coat finish. So this boat, I mean, the gel coat finish, again, this is an old boat, but it's just beautifully done. And that type of production process that I talked about was able to achieve this while keeping the weight light. And as I said, the boat's very uniform. But like, this is a little pocket cruiser for a family of four. I mean, not all boats in the size range have this kind of volume, and it's actually quite impressive. So check this out. This boat has a lounge. That's what you do. You lounge here. Unless you have like a 3-year-old that could sleep there. But I mean, again, it's just a feature that you wouldn't expect to see on a boat like this. Really nice tie downs here for the shrouds. Very impressive. Again, it's a Bruce Farr boat, Bruce Farr engineered boat. They've done this for decades, and this boat is a really good example of what they can do in a production boat. By the way, it's worth noting it was not an IOR design at all. Even though IOR was really happening in the early 80s, mid 80s, they wanted to have none of that. Just a pure shape, no weird, bumps and all this stuff that IOR tended to increase on boats, make them look uglier, but make them rate better. Okay, nice double bunk up here. I mean, I'm not gonna get up there, but wow, I mean, that's very impressive. I mean, they really maximize the amount of boat that you could put down below. I think it's impressive. We talked earlier on some of our other videos about the Holy Grail, right? Is this a Holy Grail boat for people? Absolutely. First of all, the used prices are very reasonable. A quick search shows them anywhere from 12 to 14 to 16,000. That's what I saw. Some of them are in excellent shape. People that bought these were really fanatical about them. And then the next generation of buyers, they were too. So the boats tend to be really nice shape, nice bottoms, everything. Sometimes they have really updated sail wardrobe. So first, let's say 16 grand, right? And a family of four. You can go PHRF racing with this thing. I don't know what it rates in ORR, but it's probably worth looking at. And you can go cruising on the boat, or at the very least, you can weekend. And for just a couple, I mean, shoot. Yeah, it's nice to have all this stuff, but this boat has all the right stuff at the right price point. You could do Newport Ensenada races. You could do Santa Barbara King Harbor. These are West Coast races, of course. But any of your 60 to 80 to 100 mile races, easy, easy. You probably wouldn't take it Transpac, although some of you are kooky enough to do that. I wouldn't. And the pink flamingo was an option, and they opted for that. And I'm personally glad that they did. All right, before we say goodbye, let's hear a couple words from the owner.
We've always admired the boat. We see it's fun and easy to sail. There's just two of us, so we can sail it double-handed, or we can sail it with a crew. We can cruise it. It's comfortable for raft ups. I learned I prefer to have a crew than just the two of us, because it works better with a crew. We both sail in the J105 fleet, and Etchells and John's Star Sailor, so kind of spread thin on the different types of boats that we sail on, so we don't get her out enough, but we need to. She picks up and goes. She's Healy, so we like to have weight on the rail for a race. But it's fun to just take her out and go whale watching. So very versatile. I like how it was built. I like the look of it down below. She's a pretty boat.
All right, that concludes the tour of the Laser 28. If you've never been on one, now you can see why they were popular. And believe it or not, all the years of sailing that I've done, I've never actually been on a Laser 28. I'm impressed. If this thing, 1984, like this was the hot dog. Very impressive. By the way, you'd like to know that one of our next videos, in fact, our next video is an Olsen 30. A lot of you have asked about that boat. I've sailed a lot of miles on an Olsen 30. It'd be really fun to talk about that. And if you want to know when the video comes out, we have a notification button down there that you should hit, along with the like button, along with the subscribe button. For Nobleman Productions and for Sailing Anarchy, I'm Scott Tempesta. We out.